gonna start. Okay. Okay, good evening, everyone. It is 7:06 and we're gonna officially start the meeting. My name is Lee Chong. I am the chair, and we have our other board member, Julie Reyes, who's our on the committee. And if the other community board members who are not on the committee introduce themselves, Camelia, David.
Yes, good evening. I'll jump in. Hello, Miss Lee, and hello, Miss Chong, and hello, everyone else. My name is Camelia Tapelus. I'm a community board 8 member and chair of the ENS committee. And Lee, just to let you know, I will have a little item to bring to your attention in the new business part of the agenda. Thank you.
Okay. David.
Yes, I'm David Gelman, member Community Board 8. I'm actually the Housing Committee is how I first got involved with Community Board before actually joining the board, and I chair the Budget Committee.
All right, and we have our guest, Abby Nearing from Riverdale Press. And John, do you want to introduce yourself? I don't know how you want to introduce yourself, John Riley.
Well, that's Lee said, I'm John Riley and I live on Johnson Avenue.
All right, and Kevin, you already introduced yourself. You want to do it again for the record?
Let me unmute. I'm unmuted. My name is Kevin Johns. I live at 3967 Sedgwick Avenue. That's Tower 1B in Amalgamated Housing Corporation. I also serve on the board of directors of Amalgamated Housing Corporation.
And Anne, you want to reintroduce yourself for the record, please?
Yes, I'm Ann DeLuca. I live at 3311 Giles Place. Been in the neighborhood for over 35 years, living at Giles Place during that time. And I'm also a member of my board.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, my report is very short. We had no meeting in February because we couldn't get a quorum. But the things that I want to discuss, I'll discuss under new business. So we can get right into what we really wanted to talk about today. 2 things. One, we want to discuss or start discussion on the budget for the coming year. And that's one reason David has been invited to attend the meeting, because he's the budget chair. And Julie has been kind enough to do the work of giving us a preliminary budget for what was approved last, or what the committee approved last year and was submitted, and what we would like to see. And we can have a discussion about what we would like to see in the coming year. So Julie, I turn it over to you. You're muted.
Okay, let me just give me a minute so I can try to figure out how to get this thing up. Right with you.
While you're doing that, Julie, I just wanted to say I'm attending as the chair of the Budget Committee, but I hold no power whatsoever over your decisions. I'm merely here to help you formulate your requests. So I just wanted to make sure everybody understands that it's your budget, not mine. So have at it as you may.
Thank you, David. Are we having a problem, Julie?
Okay, for some reason it is not showing. You don't see the document, do you?
No, I see yours. Something very tiny.
Did you double click on it?
I
Looks like
went on screen share. I double clicked on the folder.
Yeah. And did you double, it looks like you single clicked on the item.
Let me try one more time. Do you see it now?
No.
No,
I see it on my computer, okay.
we only see the File Explorer showing you a list,
Yeah,
showing your
a
list
of-
of.
a list of 4
Ju-
items.
Julie, I suggest you stop the screen share, open it on your computer and go back. And when you have the document open, then you start screen share so that it allows you to click to select the window that you wanna you see, because now it selected the window of Windows.
Okay, so open up the document and now share.
Yes.
Thank you, Camelia.
This is called high tech.
How's
Oh,
that?
great.
Yes, it's there.
Thank you,
Every-
Camelia.
Everybody gets bit by, using this technology, everyone. So you're in good company.
Thank you all. Okay. Great, but these are. Oh, I cannot do this.
This is from last year.
Okay. This is not going to work. Okay, can everybody tell me if you see where it says expense budget requests?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, here it is. So for the expense budget for the year 2024, items 5 and 7 from our committee budget was submitted.
Julie, if you don't mind, let me just introduce the others to what the fiscal year means.
Okay, go right ahead.
Okay, very quickly, we are now in the waning months of fiscal year 2023, which ends on June 30th. Last fall, we submitted our capital and expense budget request for fiscal year 2024, which begins July 1st. And that's what Julie was referring to. These are the things that were submitted last year. And basically, the mayor has already told us what he's going to do, and he's sort of negotiating with the city council about what elements of the fiscal 24 budget will take place July 1st. The main purpose of the evening is to bat around ideas for fiscal year 2025 that will begin July of the following year. But we want to know what the housing committee would like to see happen within Community Board 8 and all the other submissions for capital requests and expense requests will be discussed later on in the spring. But tonight, the housing committee should come up with your list of your budget priorities, capital and expense for fiscal year 2025.
Thanks, David. One of the things I'm saddened by is that I was hoping that Tony Edwards from Marble Hill would be present tonight. He said he might be, to talk about what's going on at Marble Hill and Fort Independence, the two NYCHA buildings. And I know he was annoyed that a lot of what we put in has not been completed, or actually they haven't heard anything, which is nothing new with NYCHA. So I don't know at this juncture, should we just repeat the capital request and the expense request for NYCHA for FY25? David?
Why don't you let the rest of your committee talk and give their opinions on what was and what should be, and if they had anything new, and then at the end I can make some comments on it if you like. But
Okay.
it really should come from you and your people first.
All right, Julie, what are your thoughts on this then?
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, my thoughts are, and I did speak with Mr. Edwards briefly. I know he had a prior engagement. He said he would definitely try to make it. And some of the items still have not been taken care of, so any items, I believe we should keep them on so it doesn't fall off the list and they can get to it, as well as add new items.
Yeah, the one I'm looking at that was requested last year, which I think is in capital for NYCHA, is to renovate or upgrade public housing developments, which is generic. And they want to upgrade the boiler and replace it for Marble Hill and Fort Independence House. The response from the agency is this capital project is included in the agency's department estimate for FY24. But apparently nothing else has been done about it. And the other NYCHA one, which is an expense item, is security issues. And their response is it says it's also included. NYCHA gives very generic answers and non-specific as to what they, the timeline or anything. So I agree with you, Julie. I think we should just regurgitate because they are very non-specific. And that's why I wish Tony was here because he lives there and he knows what's actually happening there. But so be it. So for NYCHA, I think we should just redo it. And I don't know, maybe we'll find out from Tony later on this week what new issues need to be addressed. Do you agree? Does everyone agree?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Some of the new issues that I know that he mentioned was the monitoring of cameras, which was on there on the list. Sufficient personnel to monitor cameras, that's still needed. At one time in the past, the committee has discussed for the NYCHA to start a tenant patrol to give them funding for that. I don't see it on the list here, but he mentioned the tenant patrol will be helpful. Someone to monitor the cameras, which is on the list, still hasn't been done. They have the new scaffoldings throughout the buildings because of local law 11. So possibly funding to either get rid of it.
Well, in their response, if this was submitted last year, they said they've included it in their budget. But what they've done with the inclusion is something we actually don't know. And only Tony can tell us because, or if someone else who lives at Marble Hill were at this meeting, Georgia Santiago could tell us. But since we don't have anyone from Marble Hill or Independence, maybe we just leave it in.
I would say leave it in because I spoke with him earlier and the projects have not been completed.
Okay, so, but are they moving forward with it?
No. My understanding is, and Dave or Dan or Cornelia, I see you guys on, you could correct me if a project hasn't been started and if we take it off, then it's like starting from square one if we take it off. So rather leave it on, so it stays up on top if it even makes the list.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we should leave it on.
So Dan, I see you there. Do you want to pop in?
Yeah, no, if it's an important item, we tend to just leave it on. So that way it's, at least reminding the agency that this is important to us.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So we leave, okay, so NYCHA I think is completed, yes?
Yes.
And what did I don't think we asked much of HPD. I think what we asked was something related to senior issues.
Not sure, let me bring it back up.
Right, I have something, affordable housing serving older district residents.
Now, which documents are you looking at?
HPD.
Okay,
And the only thing they said in their response from the agency is we will try to accommodate the issue within existing resources. Which I don't know what that even means.
probably that they're not going to do it.
And
That's
I
just a
never-
guess on my part.
And I never heard from HPD. But one thing I think HPD needs to do is maybe increase their, and this is a capital, number of inspectors. Because I think with all the issues with the, the e-bikes and stuff like that, and I think people need to get HPD, when someone calls 311 and complains about some issue, I think the inspectors come, and if they don't have enough, they're not coming in a timely fashion. But I don't know, in terms of the budget to increase the number of inspectors, I don't know how many they have currently. John, would you know what's going on in CBA in terms of HPD? John, Riley?
Yes, I don't know what their level of, I know that they don't have enough staff right now,
Right,
kind of across the board, but I don't know if that's the problem in their inspection unit.
all right. So that's something we can check. Maybe we get the office tomorrow to find out if that's one of the issues. And maybe he can contact HPD. And that was the only item from last year. I don't know what else we want to, no, actually, that wasn't an item. That's something I think we should add this year. Any other thoughts about that?
Is in regards to the capital, you're working on the capital now, so you have the four on the screen. Does it show for year 2024?
I see expense. Oh, there's
Do you see
capital.
capital? Okay, in regards to the capital request, we had these four from last year.
Right,
So you're saying these are good to keep, and then we add, we're adding the inspectors?
yes, because their response was that it was included in their FY24, but we have no idea whether they've moved along or at what stage they are. So maybe we just keep it in.
Okay. So that'll be 5 items to increase inspectors. Does anyone else have any other capital requests that they'd like to recommend? Amelia?
I think that's it.
Okay. So then,
And the last item is DOB. I don't think last year anything was submitted to DOB. Was anything submitted? I don't have any thing in the documents I got from the board office. I only have NYCHA and that one item from HPD.
I'm looking at what we have submitted also with NYCHA is the laundry room.
Right, that
Restoration of building number 9.
that was also in security gates, boiler, walkway, sidewalks. No, laundry room that doesn't seem to have been in, oh, no, I have it. Yes, laundry room
In the
for,
expense, we're doing the expense thing.
in the expense for number 9, building number 9, what building? Yeah, number
Yes.
9, it was in last year. Yeah, and that's the one where they say the capital project is included in the agency's departmental estimate for FY24. So they've included it. But what's the status of it is unknown. So we should just repeat it.
Okay, sounds good. Right, because it was put in for 23 and it was put in for the year 24.
Right. So maybe this coming year they'll succeed.
Okay.
And do we have anything for DOB?
Let me bring it up to 24.
I don't think so.
No, this is what made the list, these two. The expense items.
All right,
And when I bring it, let me bring the sheet back to what we actually submitted. So this was what was submitted for year 24 for the expense, the monitoring of the buildings and roofs, sanitation workforce for trash removal, and rehabilitation for the laundry rooms. Those three.
for
were
building
submitted.
number 9.
Yes,
And
that
I,
was the expense for last year.
and that was put in last year.
But
Restoration,
what this
building
was put
number
in,
9.
I'm sorry, this was put in for year 2024.
Right, and it was done,
But we haven't really submitted because this was our recommendation
Right.
April of last year.
all right, sounds good. Oh, moving along, we have nothing for DOB. Correct?
Right.
Now, DOB is going to be very instrumental in the coming years because of local law 152 and local law 97. Now, I don't know how these two local laws are going to impact DOB's ability to do their job. And we'll only know that when we meet with someone from DOB to explain to us exactly what is entailed in these two local laws, other than a lot of money.
Could you explain what they are again for everybody?
When we, I don't know if do we want to just move on, we can go on to, I don't think we have any old business. The only old business I was going to talk about was that we're deferring updating the housing guide for obvious reasons, being that we need to deal with something more immediate, which is these two local laws. So we'll go on to new business. Local law 152 was passed by the city council in 2016. And what it said was that all buildings had to be inspected to ensure that we could eliminate this, Julie, so I can see everybody better. Okay, Kevin, do you want to say something now? Do you want me to finish telling people what?
I was just gonna comment after you're done.
Okay, so 152 was passed by the city council in 2016, which stated that all buildings needs to be inspected to see the condition of the gas lines in their building. And if it was deemed not acceptable by DOB, they had to be replaced. Now, I live in a co-op, 412 units, 26 stories. 3 years ago, we had our gas lines replaced. And how they did it was I think it was 4 lines from, first floor to the 26th floor on one day, and they replaced all the pipes. So your gas, and they had to remove your gas stove away from the wall, go into the wall, take out the old gas line, put in a new pipe. And this took 1 day for each unit. So you were without cooking gas for 1 day. This was done. Then along comes local law 97. This was passed in 2019, which states that all buildings 25,000 square feet or greater must begin converting to all electric starting in 2024. This is more costly. And many of the, I shouldn't say many, a couple of the local city council members in the city have held forums. I attended one last year, not last week, last Tuesday, that was organized by Manhattan City Council member Gail Brewer. 100 people attended this. It was a 2-hour session from 10 to 12. And who was in attendance were 2 employees from DOB who are more or less overseeing the local 197 and a nonprofit consultant called NYC Accelerator. And their job is to educate board members, board of managers, and landlords on what the expectation of the local law 97 is. And one of the things they brought up was the fact that you need to hire an architect and an engineer to do a survey that is submitted to the Department of Buildings. And once it's approved, they then do the number crunching to see how much it's going to cost. NYC Accelerator's role is that they will help you maneuver through the system. They will help you find an engineer if you don't have one, an architect if you don't have one, help the professionals do the form that is required, and even help you find a lender. Right now, there's all this process, and then also there's another thing which helps amalgamate it. They have created 2 classes of buildings. Buildings that are, I think they're called Article 321. I took a lot of notes. Yeah, Article 321, the implementation is developing requirements for buildings that are rent regulated, HDFCs, NYCHAs, and buildings, houses of worship, and limited equity co-ops, which you fall into. So actually at this meeting that was held by Gail Brewer's office, there were a lot of people who lived in Mitchell-Alma co-ops at this meeting because they were very concerned because they are income restricted buildings, so they don't have the income to do this. But NYC Accelerator will do the technical assistance to help you do this. So that's a start. And what I would like us to do is to see if we can get our local council member to do the same thing that his colleague in Manhattan did, which is call a meeting about this, you know, and have the professionals come in and do a forum, hopefully sooner than later, because it's impacting, I know Amalgamated right now, but it's more the local law 152 because you've been a little behind. It should have been done a while ago. And now I have a feeling, and I'm just making a guess, that your property management company has said, okay, it doesn't make sense for us to change the gas line if eventually we have to go all electric. So we're going to skip that step and go directly to go all electric and eliminate this. But that's more costly. And I understand that you were going to HCR to get a loan to do this, but they kind of screwed up. No? See, I was
No.
wrong. Okay, Kevin,
No.
tell me the truth.
The truth is, 5.5 years ago, we told the HCR that we know this problem was coming down the pike,
See?
okay? Our architects, our management, our board set up, we had a lot of capital work that needed to be done because of local law 152, local law 11, all the local laws. And our buildings are very old. Some of our buildings are 1927, 1928, 1940. The middle generation buildings, I believe, are 1951. And the 2 newest buildings, the towers, went up in 1972. So currently, right now, and the dealio is you got to have, this is what gets me about this local law. You have to have a certified plumber come in and inspect your plumbing pipes, right?
Right,
Now, if they fail, according to them, okay, who does the work to fix it? The certified plumber. Yeah, the certified plumber does the work, right? It reminds me of the bed bugs with the dog Roscoe. Remember that thing on? If Roscoe barks, you got bed bugs, and the guy's kicking the dog, you know? Anyway, so for 5.5 years, we've been telling HCR, we found a mortgage, a second mortgage to finance all our projects. And it was like close to zero interest at the time. And they would not grant it to us. They wouldn't allow. We have to answer to everything we do to them. And they're a state bureaucracy that knows nothing of our local laws. 5 times Charles has had to explain to them, probably more, what local law 152 is. And it's just never ending with the HCR. It took us 3 years to get a hearing to increase our carrying charges to cover our operating budget. And if you want to get a carrying charge increase, you have to supply a budget 2 years in advance. Who can do a budget 2 years in advance, especially with what's happened with inflation? So at every turn, they have hindered our every move. And now we're at the point, we have no money. We have no money. We told them this, we have no money. We had our pipes inspected, and 800 apartments on July 1st are going to be shut off, because what happens is they do the inspection, they find different levels of discrepancies, but they are discrepancies. And that gets reported to the DOB. And then you're allowed 6 months to fix those discrepancies. And we don't have the money for that. We had the money if we had gotten the mortgages that we need. We would have had the money. But then we found, you know what, even on your pipes, Lee, you're going to have an inspection again in probably 1 year, because you said they did it 3 years ago for you.
mhm.
Okay, well, they're going to come back in a year and inspect it again. And I hope they don't find a discrepancy, because then you're going to have to go through the whole thing again. And
Yeah, but
apparently,
no, Kevin, they're not gonna do that, because now local law 97 requires it
well,
to become all electric.
until you electrify, they're going to come back and inspect your gas pipe.
Yeah. Kevin, do you
Okay.
have a piece of paper and pencil? Because I think you should call new NYC Accelerator. I have
Yes,
their-
I do too. And I'm getting a paper right now. If you'll hold on 1 second, please. Okay, I have one. Okay, and what is that
email
number?
is, the email is info@accelerator NY.
Accelerator.
NY. And the telephone
Accelerate.
number, you can call them at 212-656
656.
656
Go ahead.
9202.
Okay.
And what they will
Also-
do is provide free technical assistance to you.
Okay, but what I'm saying is there's a lot of other buildings now that are going to have this problem.
I know, that's
And
why they need to
so
have
now
a
here-
forum. That's why they
But
need to
wait
have
a
a
second,
forum.
Lee, let me just point out to you. To electrify an old building, our buildings, you have to go to 220, okay? You have to go to 220 for an electric stove. The cost of that is more than repluming the buildings, much, much more. So we have found a stove that's been built by, it's Cooper Channing, I believe, that
Mhm.
plugs into a 120 volt outlet. 110 outfit, but it's a 120 volt. And what it does is it has a lithium, not the dangerous lithium phosphate, I believe, or the other lithium that doesn't blow up. And this stove will be, they cost $4,000 each, but you don't have to upgrade to 220 in order to do it. Because currently 220 would cost us $20,000, $30,000 apartment. Because not only that, you have to bring up, you have to raise the infrastructure to get that kind of juice in the
But also,
neighborhood.
Kevin, I believe my recollection of this meeting was that you start in 2024. And by 2030, you
Yeah,
have to have 30% of the work done. And that's when it's reviewed, and it's reviewed from the previous year. And if you're
Mhm.
not at that percentage point, that's when the building is penalized. So.
Oh,
if
I
they
see.
So you don't have to have everything completed. It's a
Right,
percentage,
right.
and I forget, but if you call the number or go on their info page, maybe you get more.
I'm gonna give the information to our manager, Charles, of course, who said he does owe you a phone call, by the way. I just texted with him. And,
All
but what I'm trying to say is that there's gonna be many, many buildings that are gonna fall under this local law 152. And, you know, like you said, I guess your co-op had the money to do all of that.
Yes,
gas
we
work.
use our reserve account.
Well, we have no reserves, which is another problem. Park Reservoir owes Amalgamated $700,000 right now.
Oh, my.
And the HCR won't let them pay it to us because the HCR wants Park Reservoir to build their reserve up. Meanwhile, we don't even have a reserve. We have nothing.
Why did
We
you
are
loan,
in, du-
you loan Park Reservoir? Another.
no, somebody said that today. Park Reservoir is part of us. They
Oh.
have to pay us for the services that we provide for them. Service, security, all the porters, the handymen, they all fall under our service department. But Park Reservoir gets those people and all the stuff that goes with it. They have to pay us for that out
And
of
they
their
got a
carrying.
J51, and they have a J51.
Yeah, well, and HCR is not allowing them to pay us. If you can believe that or not, it's a fact.
Who do you
Okay,
deal
they
with
want,
at HCR?
I don't know. And we have to because years ago, we get tax shelter breaks. You know, we're
I know.
a limited equity affordable housing.
Yeah, you're a quasi Mitchell-Lama co-op. You fall into
Right.
that, like Penn South,
Yes,
Manhattan is the
yes,
same
Lee,
thing.
yes,
They were built
yes. But
before
you know,
Mitchell-Lama.
the difference with Penn South is they have a lot of commercial,
Oh, yeah, they
you
can
know, that
generate
helps
income.
them.
And they're
Right.
also in Manhattan.
That's correct. That's correct. So now we have 800 apartments that are going to be without gas on July 1st.
For how
And we don't
long?
even, I don't know, we don't have the money.
That makes no sense. So what happened at the meeting that you all had last week?
With HCR? Well,
Well,
with
I don't
who?
know if HCR was at it,
No,
but,
we had a meeting with our cooperators.
oh, and management.
Yes,
an
and
internal
me,
meeting.
I mean, and the board. Yes, we told
Oh,
them.
okay. So
We
you know
have no,
outsiders.
no. Well, there were people, I think there was a representative from
Jeff
Councilmember
Dinowitz's
Dinowitz's
office. Jeff Dinowitz.
and Assemblyman Dinowitz's office too. Okay, and they know what's going on.
I know.
But you know, I don't think anybody thought this out when they were implementing this, the effect that it was going to have on middle income buildings. You know, listen, I did gas for years as a subcontractor for Con Edison. Okay, I'm thinking when they did your building, they put you on bottled gas. Somehow Con Ed came and put you on bottled gas while they did a transfer. Because when we had a problem in Building 7 in Amalgamated, like 2 years ago, we used reserve fund money because we had it then, and they were shut down for months until we could get it up. And then it's got to be pressure tested and everything else. This is the problem with this law. Do you know how much gas is currently in a pipe, how much pressure going to your kitchen, domestic gas? I think it's maybe 5 pounds, okay? If you have to test that pipe, the Public Service Commission requires you to put 15 times the pressure on that pipe. Now, on an old building, you'd have to pull every stove out, cap everything on the line and pressure test it. It's not going to pass. It's going to fail. And
Kevin?
that's a given.
Kevin, I think what you should do tomorrow is whoever is in charge at Amalgamated, contact NYC Accelerator and tell them your problem and ask them, how can you help us?
I will do that. I'm
'Cause
just
they will
pointing
help
out to
you
your
in the
community
technical
board.
end. They will help you in the technical end as well as the financial end.
Okay,
That's a big
I'm
problem.
with you. I'm with you.
Okay.
But I'm
It-
saying, I hope you get this information out because you're gonna see a lot of buildings are gonna have these problems.
Right.
And yeah, because it's not an easy fix. It's
And
not
let
an
us
easy
know,
fix.
and let us know after you do talk to them what happened.
I will.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you
you
so
very
much
much.
for your information. Thank you.
You're welcome. David, you want to say something?
Yes, thank you. I took a quick look at 97 and it sounds conditional. That is to say, you only fail if you don't reach certain levels, or if you,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, if you exceed certain levels. So I don't think it's everybody, and I don't know the condition of your building,
No,
Kevin.
that's what I was telling Kevin. That's why you need to, there are conditions and there
Right.
there are milestones that a building needs to reach. And if they don't reach it, they get penalized. And it's
Right,
actually, say for argument's sake, they're gonna look at it in 2030, but they're gonna look at what was done in from 2024 to 29, not what's been done. And so it's a year back. But you need to call them to get the exact detail and they might have something in writing. to give to
what
you.
I was going to suggest though, Lee, is that actually this would be a good topic for a housing committee forum.
That's what I
maybe
said,
do-
but I wanted to be held by our elected official.
I agree. Yes, I do. I think
Which
that
is
should
what
be
Dale
the
Brewer
case.
did in Manhattan, and she actually said, I think another council member in Queens did it already, so there are other people doing it. And
Right.
Eric should just contact his colleagues to get all the information to coordinate a forum similar. I mean, there were 100 people at this meeting.
Right. No, I understand. What I was going to say is that Councilman Andrew Cohen had the Department of Finance come in and explain SCREE and SHE and all the tax abatements that were available to individuals in the community. It was held at the Kingsbridge Library. So in the similar vein, that may be something you want to organize with Councilmember Dinowitz's office. But I think it would be good for the Housing Committee to have a position in all this.
All right, Julie,
Yes, I just wanted to ask, should I put up the council members' contact information on the screen so people can reach out to them?
sure. If I assume Kevin and Ann may want it.
Believe me,
That's
we
true.
have it. Believe me, we have it.
I just want it on record so that it can
Thank
go
you.
online.
Thank you. And in our case, all the state senators too, because we're dealing with HCR.
That's right.
Oh,
At
that's
least we
true.
can put this
So,
in there.
yeah, you have.
And we have all of them too. Thank goodness for Senator Jackson and Senator Rivera and Senator Kavanaugh so far. They're helping, they're trying. And our state assemblyman Jeffrey Dinowitz.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other issues? No other issues? Camelia,
Yes, we are in new business, right?
yes,
Yes, okay, good. So just wanted to share last environment and sanitation meeting, Robert Fanuzzi brought up to our attention a situation that concerns the train tracks that are parallel to Broadway. On the side, on the east side of the Target parking lot, train tracks belonging and being actively used by Metro North. So what he said was that in relation to the opening of this Grand Central fancy Madison, Grand Central Madison connection to Long Island Railroad, the tracks are they used to be used for sort of garbage storage. I mean, within the cars, obviously, but this use increased basically in relation to the opening of that new connection, which for us as ENS poses a problem as far as the long-term potential of connecting our daylight hour. The DEP Tibet's Brook Daylighting Project, which, as you probably know, is connecting, it's bringing to ground level a former underground body of water, the Tibet's Brook, that now actually gets turned into the sewer system that stops there under the existing DEP proposal that stops over at 230th Street, but the section between 230 and 225th technically continues, but it's these tracks of Metro North. So we thought that it was an issue that is relevant to housing in terms of the Marble Hill houses being in an area that's designated as environmental justice area. We reached out to Metro North through the office, and Laura confirmed that a representative may be able to be with us on our next April meeting at 8:30. So we plan to ask them more questions, but we just wanted to, but Robert Fanuzzi thinks that we are likely basically to put forward the resolution to the effect of basically asking Metro North to find other ways to store garbage that in this section, with the long-term view of us potentially extending the Tibet's Brook project to bring the water basically to Harlem River. So we were hoping for the housing committee kind of support on this. This is why I'm here to preliminary present the idea. I was also hoping that Tony Robbins from the Marble Hill Houses Tenants Associations would be here, of course, because we would love to hear what they think and if they observed sort of the impact of this additional traffic of train cars at a higher volume than it used to be. And of course, we will continue advocating. That's all I had to say. Yes.
Camelia, tomorrow morning, you might want to call the board office and ask for contact information for Tony Edwards, so you can.
Yes, I know him well. I used to work with him actually before my current job. So
okay.
Yes.
But the other thing, Camelia, since you're talking about sanitation, why don't you talk about the composting? Because that's happening in my building. We're doing composting. And the sanitation actually came and bought those little brown thingies, and we do it, and they gave us instructions on what can and what cannot be composted.
Yes.
And that they come and pick up our compost every Thursday. So
yes,
this is something that's going to be citywide. I think.
Yes, I think it's in 2025. Correct. Yes.
Yeah. And I think next month, Queens, the entire borough is going to have
there is
mandatory composting.
Absolutely, and there is actually an article in the New York Times of today saying how also and all private homes with yards will have to separate their organics and collect composting.
My question is, I don't know how our co-op board was able to get it done, because we've had it for about a month now. And I would think some building like Amalgamated would love to get into this, but how do
We've been into it for a couple of years already.
Oh, see, so
we put our compost out. It goes out. The bins go on Friday afternoon, and they go out Monday night. I know this because my wife is in charge of this around here. And she's very, very adamant about composting. Believe me. If you want her information, I'll give it to you.
All right, that's great.
Well,
thank you.
Well, I just have to say I'm very envious both Kevin and Lee for your buildings, because my building, where I am also a board member, by the way, which is a limited equity co-op, we got approved by the SNY, of course, for collection, but the board refuses to join in because they say, of course, the typical, like stereotypical reasons, rats, mess, all this.
And actually, it stops rats. You know why it stops rats? Because you got a compactor putting sausage out there, and the rats are like, "Hey, Baba Reba." So you have those brown bins. It stops the rats.
Yeah,
Amelia.
you're
And what
preaching to-
happened, when I
yeah.
was a kid, we didn't have rats. You know why? Everybody had steel garbage cans back then.
That's true.
End
Camelia,
of story.
I brought this up at the last Riverdale Senior Services Social Action Committee, and there are members from your development. And one woman who happens to be 99 years old said she doesn't know anything about it. She lives in Knowles Crescent 1 or 2.
Yes, that's where I am.
Oh, so she says she's going to talk to the managing agent about it.
Yes, he was very willing to. Our managing agent is Robert E. Hill. We switched to them less than a year ago in July of 22. And he's very willing to, but it's my board that is very resistant.
But you know what, Camelia, you should tell them it's going to become mandatory. They
Yes,
started
I
getting
will,
clean.
believe me.
It's going to be legal. So you might as well
Yes.
start educating the residents on how to compost.
How to ask, yeah, I know, how to lobby the board.
Right.
No, I know
Get
as
rid of
many
the
people we
board.
have. Yeah, I know, exactly. I know we have many people that want to do it. It's the board that doesn't want to do it. So I will keep my work on this. But Lee, I just wanted to say, because I was listening that about all these things with the accelerator and law 97, and I'm absolutely horrified and worried.
That's another thing
Let's do this
your
housing,
development
this forum. So
development
we would
needs
love
get
to partner.
involved in. Your
Yes,
your development was built under the same program as mine. Under HUD section 312, I think. I always mix up the number. It's either 312 or 213. Except your development did something that mine did not. Yours maintained the resale price.
No, we are charging a very large transfer fee of 45%.
Yeah, but how much stays within the corporation?
55.
Right.
No, the other way around. The outgoing gets 55, we get
Yeah.
45.
Right. Anyway.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
But anyways,
other-
yeah,
any
this
other
forum is
issues?
great.
Any other issues? 'Cause I like to bring up one thing. And for our future meetings, and people can give me their input. We have a lot of rentals in our community board. People don't seem to talk about them. And a lot of them are rent regulated. And I believe, John, tell me if I'm wrong. Because you know more, you're more familiar with this than I in the Bronx. But
Mhm.
the RGB, the Rent Guidelines Board, is going to be meeting. Do they start in April, John?
I believe so, yeah.
Right, and they're going to determine the rent raises. Last year was the first time in a while where they actually gave rent increases, which alarmed a lot of housing advocates. In any case, I think we should start thinking about getting community residents involved and knowing what their rights are. And oh, by the way, one of the issues that is impacting their ability to know what's going on as well as to stay in their home is the lack of legal assistance. I believe Legal Aid Society came out recently saying they don't have enough money and they're asking for an increase. I think it's with Department of Social Services. So perhaps that's another ask we should do to support Legal Aid Society in increasing the funding they get from the city so they can hire attorneys to adequately represent tenants in CBA who go to housing court. Because no one should go to housing court without legal representation because they get screwed. Correct, John?
Yes, that's what happened.
Right. And I don't know if there must be a Bronx legal aid unit,
Yeah,
right?
there is. Mhm.
Who's
Yes,
the person in charge of the Bronx one?
I don't know.
Oh, all right. I guess I have to call Judith to find out. Would that be the person, Judith Goldinger? Is she the one that's the overall one now?
Could be, I'm not sure.
All right. Anyway, that's another issue for future discussion. Any other issues? Dan, any thoughts?
No, I was just coming out to check out the local law discussion.
Oh, oh yeah, it impacts you too. It impacts anyone who has a building that's 25,000 square feet or more. So the only ones that are not impacted are single family homes if they're small.
Yeah, I don't think there's been proper guidance from buildings department on this issue.
no.
There's so
Or
many,
from city council. Because they're the ones that passed this law.
they haven't looked at the logistics or the cost of it or who's gonna bear the cost of it. And you know, look, in a lot of these older buildings, you're talking about co-ops and or rent regulated buildings.
Right.
It's a huge cost for either one of those parties to absorb.
But they haven't
a lot of these-
finalized it, Dan. According to what they said under Article 321, they haven't implemented, they're still developing requirements for these buildings, and rent-regulated buildings fall under this category, as well as HDFCs, NYCHA buildings, and houses of worship, because
Mhm.
they're all going to be impacted as well.
Yeah,
And I
but
assume under that is limited equity co-ops.
here's the thing, it's like, and again, the problem is, you know, we're hearing about Amalgamated, they're gonna shut their gas in July. To, what is 700-800 units, Kevin, something like that?
800, Dan,
Yeah.
800 units, Dan,
That's 800 people who are not gonna have gas.
800 families.
800 families. So, you
Yeah.
know, when you start
And they
thinking
don't have
about,
a timeline.
and no timeline, and you think about, and I don't know if you guys have implemented yet a plan of what they're gonna do for cooking at that point.
Well,
Plates,
hot plates, air fryers, and we don't even have the money for that. The money we would have
Yeah.
used would be from Park Reservoir that we can't get,
So now,
because the
when you think
HCR
about,
won't let them pay
yeah.
us.
now think about that and think about families who have to deal with that issue.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
do.
you know, the costs that are associated with it just for families. Again, it's one of these you know, there's a lot of good intentions behind it,
Yep.
but they didn't think through the logistics and they still haven't.
Right.
and
A
that's
lot
what-
of the local laws are like that, they're unfunded mandates. You know, they're a good idea, but they didn't come up with any way to finance the improvements, you know, or the changes.
And
And
John, Oh, yeah.
especially for the fact that, you know, there's been 2 gas explosions in the city, okay? And both of those explosions were caused by illegal hookups. It's a fact,
Right.
illegal hookups. And, you know, our buildings aren't blowing up left and right. So I think it would be fair, and I'm trying to work on this, to get the city council to extend this somehow. Extend this local law 152, where we can come up with some kind of plan. The stoves that we want to get that I'm telling you about, it's a very small company. They have about 10 employees. It's a wonderful fit for Amalgamated. It's a regular oven with a stovetop, but it's induction and it runs on 120 volts. You plug it into a regular outlet. And if you, after it charges, you can unplug it and still cook on it for 4 days. Even if you lose power, you can still cook on this thing. And it's amazing. Ed Yeager found out about this company. So we had sent them a letter of intent saying that we will purchase these stoves. But once again, it's all about the money, and the HCR has hindered us at every turn. Before I stop talking, Lee, I want to thank you for having me. Dan, for suggesting that I come. John, David, everybody, thank you for your input. I appreciated it very, very much. Thank
Thank
you.
you for all the information you provided us. All right. Are there any other issues?
Lee, I have a question.
Sure.
In regards, have you done enough reading on the local law 152 to feel comfortable enough to possibly submit a resolution to have it extended?
Have it rescinded?
Extended.
Extend it.
Extended. I don't know if we have the authority to do that. Do
Well,
we?
this is going to the council, no? Yeah,
Yeah.
if it goes to the council.
yeah, so Lee, I
Dan,
think,
do we have the
yeah.
authority?
so for us, you know, it's basically, we're advisory. So I think, and I don't want to speak for Julie, but what I'm hearing is that Julie's suggesting that we would put forward a resolution to the board, and the board would put forward a resolution to speak to our elected officials and to the mayor's office, you know, and buildings to say, hey, we really would like you to do this for these reasons.
If you feel comfortable enough and knowing enough, or maybe if you want to have a discussion for the next meeting and put a resolution in possibly next month, because it goes into effect, you said, Kevin, in July, right?
Yeah, that sounds more.
If you feel comfortable putting one in now, or if you want to have a discussion the following month.
I think what we need to do during the month in between is come up with the wording for this
Okay.
proposed resolution, and then at the next meeting, have the resolution in front and share with the rest of the people and then make a decision for or against it. What do you want to say, David? I see your hand up.
Yes, the other unfunded mandate was when the city mandated our converting from dirty oil, fuel oil to the cleaner oil or gas, which I find interesting because now they want us to, after Con Ed spent hundreds of millions of dollars putting in high pressure
Billions.
gas lines. The council is saying that got to go away from gas. But Dan, I wonder if buildings, and I'm not trying to set Amalgamated up, but if buildings have to turn off gas, does that create a conflict of the warrant of habitability in a leasing contract, which
No,
is what the
No,
city?
they still have to pay their carrying charges in Amalgamated.
No, I understand that. And I'm not
Oh, I
trying to.
thought that's who you might be getting at. No,
No,
sorry.
they still have to, but they could try to take action, which would complicate things even more for the council.
No, you
And-
know why, David? It doesn't violate the warrant of habitability because management is saying they're going to provide alternate hot
Mhm.
plates, whatever, air fryers. So they're doing
Mhm.
something to impact. It's not like they're ignoring it. So that-
Right.
So, yeah, and
Right.
again, it's like they have to comply with the law, right? And I get it. I see what you're saying, right? By complying with the law, perhaps you have a warranty issue, and then they put it back onto the co-op, back onto Amalgamated and say, hey, Amalgamated, go figure it out.
Right. And
You
I'm
have to
not, and I'm
provide
not
these
trying to.
services. Oh, no, I
I'm not
get it.
trying to put it on Amalgamated. I'm really trying to use this as leverage on the city council saying you're creating a sort of a
Oh.
Hobson's choice.
Yeah.
They are,
And
but
two,
then they put- yeah, go ahead. I'm
two
sorry.
other things.
Mhm.
First of all, we did all our terraces, and I pay as a half a room for my terrace. I didn't have access to my terrace for 2 years. And certain people said, well, I'm not paying that part of my carrying charge. They came back, they had to pay that part of the carrying charge. Because we have our own. Number two, I want to say, David, because you just reminded me, we have a high pressure steam plant that feeds all 14 buildings of Amalgamated, our heat and our hot water. And guess what we did? We spent about $9 million, I believe, upgrading that into gas. Okay? And we have a separate line that goes to the pilot lights to light those boilers. And because of this inspection, they're going to shut that off too. So now there's a possibility you're knocking all the hot water and the heat out in the whole place. But I came up with a sort of a solution with my knowledge of gas. I said, there's no way in the world you can't run a single line to those pilots. And then there's another way where they might have to use propane and get propane tanks to light the pilots or something like that. So we're coming up with an alternate plan. But this is all because they all wanted to upgrade the gas, and we upgraded the gas, and all these buildings upgraded. It was billions of dollars that they spent upgrading to gas. And now they're saying, oh, we're going to electrify. I don't even know if we have the infrastructure for that. That's all I got. Thank you so much, guys, for listening to me.
By the way, an FYI question, a statement of fact. Con Ed is in a discussion to increase our charges for using electricity. And what happens in the summertime when everyone uses electricity, we have blackouts. So now everything is electric. Not only you're not going to have a refrigerator, you're not going to have a stove because it's no longer gas. So you're like John said, people with good intentions, but they don't think it through.
Well, it's interesting. It reminds me of, I think it was 7 years ago, they passed the Congress passed a law requiring anybody who boards a flight to have a special upgraded driver's license. It's been
Right.
postponed 5 times. And it's supposed to take effect May of next year. And most people still don't have those IDs. So in the same vein, yes, it's good intentions by city council, but it's really does not seem achievable. And I think that there's a need for us to press our council members, to press the council to go back to the drawing board and figure out a achievable way of doing this. I don't think anybody's opposed to the concept, but it doesn't seem achievable.
Also, I think it was in the news a couple of weeks ago where the governor said that she doesn't see the reality of current buildings going all electric. She
Right.
was more concerned about new developments would be solely electric. So I don't know.
I'm more comfortable with that.
So I don't know, because this is then in opposition to what the city council's law says. So this is all going to play out in the political arena and see, but who's impacted? The
And
citizens
thank
who
you for
live in
being our guinea
housing.
pig, Kevin.
I'm
Okay,
sorry, what was that?
I said, thank you for being our guinea pig in this quandary.
Oh,
I knew
what'd do
someone
best?
from Amalgamated was going to show up.
Well, I gotta thank Dan. He, I met him
I have to
yesterday.
apologize to Lee.
But anyway, let's all push to Eric to get a forum. And maybe we can make him feel bad by saying, you know, your colleagues have done it in Manhattan and and Queens. Why can't we do it in the Bronx? And if you want to
Well,
mention,
not just Eric, it has to be all the council people.
Yeah, we've got, the
It's
other
not
two
just
council
Eric.
members. I think they'd love to do it, actually. I think it's an opportunity for them.
well, actually it would take the heat off of one council member, all three of them.
Mhm.
I mean, the only thing is with Carmen De La Rosa, I think she has, I think, very small part of our district.
Right.
It
Whereas
doesn't
Dan-
matter, they're still representing.
Yeah, where
us in
Eric
all
has
of
the majority, and I think Farina has a good portion too. I think because she has all the Kingsbridge, which is the rental portion. Am
Well,
I
there are two key elements to this. One is having our council members set up the fora to educate the residents of the community. But
Right,
the other side is trying to get them to go back to the council and to the city agencies and saying, this is a great idea, but we need to get an implementation path.
David, that's what would happen at the forum, because people like you and Kevin and me and Dan are gonna say, this ain't gonna work the way it is in its present form, and here's the reason why. And that's, by that time, I hope that we have a resolution that says you need to relook at both local law 152 and local law 97 before it's implemented and adversely impacts people's livelihoods, both economically and mentally.
I agree that we should do such a resolution or a letter. However, the forum should be to educate the community, not the council members. We should educate the council
But the-
members about this dilemma, but
But
the
the
council
outcome
members
of the
need,
conversation is gonna be, someone is gonna, Kevin is not gonna keep his mouth shut. And if he does, I'll sock him,
all right.
right? There are gonna be other people, I'm sure.
I
Kevin
never
is
had
gonna
a
invite
problem
as many
shutting my mouth,
people.
Lee.
I think Ann is gonna invite people who, she lives in, I'm gonna invite people to come, so they're all gonna have their 2 cents. They're gonna say something that this doesn't work. You're telling us you wanna do X, Y, and Z in this time. It's gonna cost X, Y, and Z. We can't afford it right now. It's gonna take longer than you're telling us. So if they can't come up with a solution, then the answer for them is go back to the drawing table. Right?
Yeah.
After
Well,
saying that, can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? We could continue this forever and ever.
I'm not a committee member. I
I'm not a
can't-
member.
Okay.
Oh, Julie, make a motion.
A motion to adjourn.
It's 8:15. I second it. Thank you all. It's been fun and dynamic. Good night.
Thank you. Thank
Good
you.
night,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you. Good
Good
meeting you,
night.
Thanks,
Kevin.
Dan. Good night, Dan. Good night, Lee. Good
Good
night.
night.